So welcome everybody. My name is Ellen Pensky, and on behalf of Packet Fusion, I want to welcome you to today's Packet Fusion Lunch and Learn Roundtable. And we do call it a roundtable because each month, Packet Fusion CEO, Matt Pingatore, will be talking to industry experts on a wide variety of topics. And remember, this is a roundtable, and so we really encourage your participation, your questions, your comments. I encourage you to put your questions in Q&A and any of your comments, and we're going to be doing a lot of interactive things. As Matt told you, he's learned some things even today, and so you can put those into chat, but your questions into Q&A would be great.
And as Derek reminded me about 5 minutes ago, if we don't do Q&A from you guys, this is a lecture and it's not a roundtable. And
That's
so
right.
Two people, me and Derek talking is a conversation, but a roundtable takes multiple. So guys, we need you. We're gonna have some polling questions. We'll get some interaction there, but we need you to ask questions and hit us up in the chat session. Thanks, guys.
That's
perfect.
That's right. That's good. And today's session is sponsored by Zoom. I think most of you may know Zoom, but it's a platform that actually started as video, and with video as its foundation in 2011. We were just talking about that. So it's been around for a while, but it's definitely set the standard for innovation for today. So we're really proud to be sponsored by Zoom. Today's session is titled Building Forward with Confidence, and it'll focus on decisions you'll be making now and in the next phase of work and how you can enable everywhere workforce. So some of the questions that we're going to cover, and we encourage your feedback, as Matt has mentioned already, but we're going to be talking about things like, how do people really feel about hybrid work? How do we create environments where everyone can do their best work? What do legacy processes look like in the hybrid model? And what does it take to provide a secure, safe, and private way to collaborate? So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about. So obviously you've met Matt and you've heard from Matt already, but he is recognized in the industry as a visionary, and he's known for his 100% customer first perspective. He's seen Packet Fusion through many transitions and has adapted and pivoted with the times by staying on top of emerging technologies and how they'll shape the future. He not only knows how to talk technical, but he understands technology too. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt for a couple comments, and love the interaction.
Thank you. Right. So we started with the Zoom relationship prior to the shelter in place. And it was a real excitement for us that they let us into the ecosystem. They didn't let everybody. We've got some nice designations. We're all in on the Zoom ecosystem with certifications and designations from Zoom of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish with them. But really, it's allowed us to take our 500, 600 premise-based customers and get them to the cloud for UCaaS, Unified Communications as a Service, cloud-based telephony. So people come at this in different ways, right? Before Zoom had phones, they were a collaboration-only engine, and they competed with the likes of GoToMeeting and the likes of Cisco WebEx and Teams and things like that. And we played in the arena, sure, but what's happening in the world today is this convergence of the collaboration and the telephony UCaaS markets into the UC&C, Unified Communications, and collaboration. And Zoom is really the guys that are defining that space. And what's happened is everybody else in the industry, most people in the other industry are on version 3 or 4 of their product. And they're adding things as they go, and now they have to buy a company and shoehorn it in and have collaboration to their telephony, or have this collaboration and add telephony to the collaboration. And it gets difficult, right? They have these 3rd or 4th generation products that they're trying to get with these, distributed nature around the globe for their enterprises, and it's difficult, right? So these companies are on the 3rd generation, trying to shoehorn older technology into the next generation platforms. Zoom started from the scratch with the hyperscalers, which is the AWS, the GCPs, the public cloud, if you will. Their infrastructure resides in that. So they're already leveraging the best of breed technology that everybody else is trying to get to. These guys started there. So we've done a couple of things with them. I won't bore you with all the details, but it was just incredibly easy because they're built on this with all the new frameworks. We can plug and play things and do things to the next generation platforms that we can't do with everybody else. So we're big fans of what they do. Their voice offering has come so far in the last year. It's amazing. Our install base is thrilled by it. We're taking people there in droves. So thank you, Zoom, for letting us in your ecosystem. Today, I'm going to try to give you guys a perspective of what it's like being a business owner, trying to manage through this situation we're all in. And God, if I didn't have the Zoom infrastructure at my disposal for our company, I don't know how we would have survived. So with that, Derek, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm just going to add, as much ad lib as I can throughout here.
Perfect. And I want to say thank you for that, Lee. And I'm glad that as a company, we're able to support you and Packet Fusion, and probably, many of your attendees as well were able to take advantage during this last crazy year. And hopefully we're able to help you all out as well. So yes, Derek Ressler, I'm here from Zoom. I support from a Zoom phone side, but more importantly from a Zoom UCaaS side. I work a lot with partners like Packet Fusion, helping them and their customers understand a little bit of what we as Zoom are seeing out there in the industry, and what are a lot of those conversations, what are a lot of the typical challenges that we are seeing when people come and interact with our team, to be like, hey, look, what are these challenges in my workplace? How can we best address those? The beautiful thing for each one of you out there is that you have a trusted partner and advisor in Packet Fusion to really help you get through this tunnel that we're in and actually get out into a successful way. So we're going to be talking about this tunnel we've been in. All right, not really have to spend too much on what's happened already. Everyone knows that. Everyone else has PTSD from it. All right, a lot of massive challenges that we've had to overcome. So let's really take a look at what is the future going forward. So when you sit on the precipice of that end of that tunnel and you're looking out, what are you seeing? And what are those choices that you're going to have to be making as an organization to better support your team members, support your processes, and obviously supporting your customers and those that you serve? And so that's where having a Packet Fusion come in to be like, look, we can help you make that first step. And we're going to chart out a path for you so that whatever direction you end up going, it's going to be a very successful direction that you're in, because you are truly not alone with Packet Fusion. And by extension, you're not alone with Zoom at all either. And so I think it's a great place to start going down this kind of space. And so as we look out at the end of the tunnel and look out at what that looks like on the other side, Matt, from an organization, from your standpoint, what have you done as you've gone through this tunnel the last year, and how are you looking at addressing the future?
Crazy, right? So, I'll kind of give some stories here, right? So it hit. I have 500-600 customers with premise-based phone system that aren't allowed or not supposed to work entirely from everybody at home. We had to, for a 2-month period, work with our install base to get everybody as best as we could with the products that it had and the features that it had to get everybody to work in this distributed workforce. And for about 3/4 of them, we got them to where they could go and it was good enough. The other quarter, it wasn't good enough, and we had to wholesale switch platforms, and we were allowed to get we were able to get, a big chunk of them to the cloud with various platforms and work very well. So that's kind of been our situation. Now it's been the status quo, maintaining and slowly moving the people over that had a bigger plan and wanted to do it over a longer period of time. So we're still taking our base to the cloud for them to allow them to take advantage of one of these three situations, right? And so what is it going to look like for us when we move back in? Actually, we actually had our executive meeting last Thursday. We decided, I think May 15th, we're going to return to offices for 2 of our offices. And what does it look like? We're not mandating anybody go to the office. We're just opening up. And so we're going to have this hybrid world, which is going to be nice. And, if I didn't have the Zoom platform, I don't know how I would have done it. Of course, I would have figured it out. We would have done it and worked great. But it's just ubiquitous and seamless having, the tool that I'm using here today that I get to use for my day-to-day communications. It's a beautiful thing. But some of the things I have to think about, are just, the legalities. Like, we still don't know what the legalities of this, of mandating people if they have their vaccine to return, or, not allowing people to return if they don't have the vaccine, or can they come in voluntarily? We're also dealing with this. We're in California, so we have a little more strict things than most. We're dealing with cohorts, and we have to have individual, like groups of 5 and 7 coming into the office at different times. So it's been difficult. This is just on the logistics part of it, right? It's been difficult for us to figure out exactly what we're going to do, but I think we're going there. We got a plan, and we're going there. Then it gets down to like the mental aspect of all this, right? So how do we used to have a sales kickoff where everybody, or actually a company kickoff where everybody would come into our corporate headquarters for 2 or 3 days. We'd have a picnic every year. We'd have a Christmas party every year. We'd have a President's Club every year. So I would get to go see my 55 employees and go hang out with them and meet their families and their kids and do all this stuff. The last year I'm on an island in my own little office right here, and it's hard. It is really, really hard. So you have to make the conscious decision and motivate yourself to do the water cooler talks, to do the things that you did in the office where you met and said hi and thank you. You just have to do it via video or town hall meetings or those kind of things. So over communicating with your team is mandatory at this point. So we're doing the hybrid approach. I think it's the way to go. I'm going to talk more about it later. So keep going. I'm going to start my first polling question. And so if you guys could answer this, are you planning to return to work full-time, hybrid, remote only? There you go. People are starting to go. 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30. Good. Thank you, guys. We really appreciate the interaction here and you guys doing this with us. So can you guys actually see the results as they are real time? Do you guys get to see the results? No, okay, only I do. Okay. So Derek, I'll turn it back to you and I'll give you the polls here in a second as they continue on.
Perfect. And I would love to hear, since this is a roundtable, like Matt was saying, I'd love to hear. I mean, does a story that Matt just shared, does that resonate with you? Just hit yes in the chat. Would love to also see if that story is one that you're like, yeah, I know exactly what Matt's talking about.
Or if you want me to go on and keep talking about a different path on what I talked about, I can tell you more.
Again, this is a roundtable. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, so beautiful. So
got one in.
About half the panelists replied. Everybody else must be multitasking. Actually, 52%. So we got 17% are full-time. That's interesting, right? So making people come back to work. 56, which I thought would be the answer, are doing the hybrid, and 28 are doing remote only. God, what that remote only thing, what a shiner upper of the P&L, the profit and loss statement, your balance sheet. Like all of a sudden you're big. I mean, Salesforce, right? They just basically said, Salesforce.com, you don't have to come back to the office anymore. Don't worry. Are you kidding me? Of course, they're trying to do the right thing in the pandemic and everybody's stressed and this is better for the people. But what that does for a publicly traded company on their balance sheet, oh my God, that's their biggest expense. People, you got to pay people. I get that. But real estate, if you didn't have to pay your real estate costs, oh my God, profits go way up. It's crazy. So I think I'm not too shocked by these numbers. Hybrid's the number one. I'm actually surprised that more people are saying remote only than full-time.
Yeah, and in fact, and I think that's how you pronounce your name. If not, I apologize. Thanks for the Q&A question. The question is, that his organization actually will be working remote 100%, Matt, until the end of 2021, and then make a better determination. So the tunnel that they're still in, and so they're still, the other side is maybe 2022. And what we're seeing is, to your point, Matt, is what are we seeing? I mean, sorry, Patton, from your side, is we're seeing a collection. I think what mirrors what you guys are saying. There's some that really want to make sure they're leveraging that cost that they have of the office. And there are a lot of benefits to the office. You had mentioned a few in your story, Matt, the ability to actually see people, to be able to shake their hands, see their smiles in person, talk at the water cooler is so valuable to people's lives. The other piece is a lot of people are looking for more of a separation, right, between their personal and their professional life. And so the idea of going back to the office is very attractive because, let's face it, most houses, that's not a word, but most houses are not set up for long-term working from home. Mine isn't. And I've had to, share at times when I'm in Arizona, so we've been able to have our kids go to school a lot longer than most people. I go into my son's room and I'm working from my son's room. I'm working from any space I can get where I can close a door and get privacy. And so going back to more of a classic office for someone like me is very attractive because of that separation between the private and the personal. So, but we are seeing that. There you go. Another great.
I love it.
Poll.
Yeah.
So I'll let you introduce it.
Yeah. I mean, I think another poll these are all kind of melt into one, but this is what you are doing as a company because somebody above you or me or everybody said, this is what we're doing. I'm sure maybe some of you were part of the decision, but it was dictated from the top. Here's what we're doing. This is a question. How do you personally feel about this? Not what your company's doing, but how do you personally feel about this? And I feel the older generation that is very sophisticated, they know how to do their work, they've been doing it for a long time, they're welcoming this hybrid or even work from home all the time or work remotely the whole time because they know what to do to be successful and they can kick butt and they can probably be more successful and more efficient. But where I see people needing a little more structure is the younger generation. Is it under 30? I'm picking a number here. The people that, don't quite know their job. They don't quite know how to do something. They don't quite know how to fit in, how to deal with this, how to climb the corporate ladder, how to go have lunch with the CEO, those kind of things. And when you're not in the office, you don't learn those things. We are lucky because I spent 25 years in the office. All of a sudden we get to be at home. I'm like, great, this is awesome. But if you haven't been in the office and understood how that works, they're craving for it. My wife has a theory that it will be for my kids today, when they graduate college, they're in high school, when they graduate college and go get the job, it'll be a benefit or a weighted matrix better for them on the job, which one they're taking, if they can actually go to the office. Because these kids have done the Zoom working, the Zoom at home. They can't wait to get back to the office, go back to school. I think they're going to want an office. So we'll see how long this takes.
That is true. Go ahead. Yeah.
74% support the hybrid environment. 4% don't support, and 22% are neutral. So, yeah, I get it. What I'd love to see on there are the ages of people doing this, but we're not going to ask them.
Yeah, of course. But I think what this really speaks to, and I think Batten brings up another good question of balancing costs with revenue, with security, and all that type of stuff. Because it really comes down to what are we doing for our employees as leadership, as owners, to help this all be successful, whether it's a hybrid world, whether it's a remote or office or a collection of that, because it comes down to, when you look at the end of the tunnel, it's from a talent perspective, from a person perspective. Let me move that over here, is the idea of these people. Are we attracting the right people? And when they get here, are they growing professionally? To your point, Matt, are they being able to have the experience of learning how to manage up, to have conversations with more senior leadership, have a lunch with the CEO? And how do I do that in a way that betters my professional career? How are we keeping them happy with not just the technology and the tools and everything, but the connections? Are they growing professionally? And of course, how do we keep them once we've developed them? How do we keep the talent and grow more talent and expand and maybe go and get more employees and grow from a transfer? Go ahead. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, we as Packet Fusion had this steadfast rule. We opened up our tax center in Austin. We had 10 people there and it was growing, it was thriving. And then the work from home hit and everybody has to go home. And we've survived and we've thrived and people like it. And so we've given up on this steadfast rule that the only people we're hiring are in Austin for our TAC. And we do have some people at other places, but our predominantly we're in TAC. And so we are now, being more open-minded to letting people live and work wherever they want and be part of our team. One of the negatives is you got to file in that state for taxes, and it's a pain in the butt as a business owner when you have one person in New York and one person in Virginia and one person in Maine, right? You have to go file and do all this crazy, but it's the new reality, and we're okay with it. And it took this situation and the Zoom platform to say, hey, we can do this, right? The other situation, so is the worker. I'm going to go back to you, Derek. I got another one here in a second.
Sure.
Oh, here's the other one I was going to go. Is the other one was we opened up in Texas, assuming that we could get highly qualified people and pay the market rate, which is less than the California rate. So it was a win-win for everybody. But what's happened in the last year is there's been this mass relocation of everybody, and everybody's taking their job with them. There should have been, this is just a statement, by the way, I don't know if I actually believe this, but there should have been a readjustment of people's salary. If they're living in Palo Alto, now they're picking up and moving their job to Idaho, where the cost of living is 30% less. Should they have gotten a 30% less salary? So there is that was a common item, a common workforce item, practice, a common practice in business ownership for the last 10 years. But what's happened is these salaries have now, because everybody's everywhere, the salaries have stayed the same. So now basically ADP just last month reissued their compensation guidelines for around the country, and literally the entire country's has their salary requirements have gone up. California stayed the same, but everybody else's has gone up. So this allure of having this, quote unquote, affordable labor in a strategic market kind of gone away, and now everybody's just working wherever they want. And I'm all for it. I think it's great. Live where you want to work, just as long as you do your job. I'm in.
And that's a piece that. Go ahead, Matt. I know you have a poll, so I want to make sure that you publish.
So the poll, 1 day a week was 7%, 2 days a week was 23%, 3 days a week was 47, 20 for 4, and 17 for 5. How many days a week do you envision employees to work from home? So 3 days a week. So yeah, right around 50%. I think that's completely reasonable. I still think people need to be in the office. I still think people need some communication. I crave it. I can't wait for May 15th and my sales team. I get to go have lunch with my sales team. I get to meet with them and talk to them on a daily basis. I'm craving it. But the hybrid, but I do enjoy working from home and getting my stuff done. And, I'm here, but with Zoom helping me out there. So Derek, back to you.
Well, and I think that goes right into this middle portion here on transformation. I think how businesses and organizations handle transformation within their organization is going to be absolutely critical for the success of their business. Or I think, Fatin, looks like that you might be from a university. How that university is attracting students, attracting talent, is how are you, leveraging technology and everything else to handle a processing transformation, a hiring transformation like Packard Fusion has been going through. As I've seen many other businesses as well. Right now, let's just get the best talent. Who cares where they're at? It's all about getting the best talent. And that's a transformational idea change from what it was previous, the best talent in a city, in a region, who's, able to drive to there. So this idea of managing transformation in the organization is one of the biggest challenges right now that people are dealing with in this tunnel, because they really want to make sure that when they get to the other side, that they're ready to go. And that's where really connecting in again with the Packard Fusion to help you think through this transformational experience, especially with someone like Matt, who's gone through and is going through a lot of these same challenges himself in the organization, I think is a huge value add, because that goes to the last piece, which is trust. And Fatin, you had mentioned the idea of security and safety. You got to trust that the technology, that the operations, that all of the other things that are a part of your organization are secure, safe, and private in order to keep that talent and to keep that transformation on the right track. And so the idea of trust is absolutely critical, because what we've seen, if we want to see really what we've seen a lot, this trust factor has been at risk all over the place, because all of a sudden people's technology was never meant to extend outside the physical brick and mortar of the office. And now all of a sudden that's gone.
I mean, the downside of this, this downside of working at home is you're always on. Granted, you get to go take your kids to school and you get to go have your lunch with your friends, and you're putting your 40-hour work week. I'm not denying that, but you're always accessible. You are always on. So the studies show that you actually work more hours working at home than you do if you were in the office. Granted, there's no commute, there's no lunch break, those kind of things physical, but you are actually feel compelled to be more available on the weekends and after hours for whatever reason people are doing that. It was an interesting study that I saw that on.
And it's definitely, and we'll even take a look at something similar to that. And I think that's the challenge, is making sure the technology allows you obviously to stay connected, but there's processes built in to make sure that home and away, that personal and private, do have more separate, because we can do it for a certain period of time, but it's going to come to a point where there's a breaking point for each and every individual with their families, other stresses, that, working 10, it's so easy to work 10, 12-hour weeks today, days, not weeks, days today, than it ever has been, because of this always on type experience that we're in. And so making sure, again, from an organization and from a company perspective, each of you out there, around this roundtable, really are thinking through how best to help our employees to be successful. All right, making sure we have the right technology in place to really drive the transformation we need in a way that actually secures and provides the privacy that we need to be successful as we kind of go forward. And this kind of goes, this graph, and then you can kind of go through your poll, Matt. It goes to what Matt was saying, and really what they found out, because Gartner was very interested towards the middle and the end of last year. They really wanted to see how this all happened, and what was the productivity change when people had to flex into more at-home experiences, or even towards the end in some states where they were able to give flexible, you can go back to the office if you want, you can stay at home if you want. We're going to be a lot more flexible with your day-to-day, if you need to go and leave to take your kids to school, go do that. We'll do a meeting some other time. Like, how is that all playing into productivity? And what they found, surprisingly, which I didn't know it would be this much. I thought it might be a little bit of a bump, but I didn't know it was this much, was there's a significant change in productivity. Not so much for your top performers, because they were rocking. It had to do with the average performer.
Interesting.
Who just came in, did their job, and left. Nothing wrong with them, nothing great about them. They just came in and just grinded through their day. What they found was their productivity significantly increased. And so now, from an operational standpoint, from a business driver standpoint, the success of each of your organizations out there, you probably saw bumps in success in areas you never expected it to happen. And it goes back to that transformational. So the key is, how do we keep this improved performance and productivity as we decide what that end of the tunnel looks like? And so why don't you go through that last poll there, Matt?
Yeah, it was just basically showing it's about a 50-50. No one's doing away with offices entirely.
Yeah.
But most some are going down and some are doing nothing, keeping their brick and mortar. So it wasn't a surprise to me. It wasn't that exciting one. The next one I'm going to make, probably we're getting less and less respondents on the poll. The next one, in about 3 slides, I'm going to ask everybody to do it, because I'm always interested in that one. But Fatin, thank you for your Q&As. You are the one who is very involved with us. Thank you. Couple comments from Fatin, which was nice. We'll be working remotely at least till the end of the year. Is this what you've seen from other companies? I think companies are starting to, at least I'm in California, where California's doing the best in the nation, supposedly. The United States is doing one of the best in the world, which is great. I can't fathom what's going on in India, so I don't even want to talk about that. But it seems like people are starting to return to the office. So I don't want to say you're not the norm, Fatin, but we're seeing more and more people return. My office complex, which has maybe 50 different buildings, 50 different unique companies in it, I've seen the parking lot just explode. We were deemed an essential business because we support communications, so we always had 3 or 4 people on site in our office at all times. The parking lots were crickets. There are thousands of cars, hundreds of cars in our parking lot now, so people are starting to go back. And then what else did you do the one, Derek, on this one, for cost versus revenue?
No, it was more of a comment that
yeah.
was making, and just the challenges, again, of being in the tunnel and and having to balance cost, revenue, safety, health, and those were being very, difficult things to kind of juggle at the same time, because they probably all at one time, all 4 balls were up in the air. And which one do you catch?
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake, your executives are weighing the option of not having offices altogether and weighing what it actually does for your P&L, because it is a needle mover for companies. We're not doing away with any of our physical offices, because I'm a firm believer that we need to be there and we need to be doing in-person communications, but there are plenty that will have done away with it. What else? Fatih, I like this one. Giving the employees TLC package such as wine, etc., is a good touch to communicate with happy hour. Just a thought. Not to mention that the work is open worldwide, and that means working hours are not only 8 to 5 anymore, and it is expected to be available any time of day for meeting. It has been crazy. Totally agree. I have some of my employees in Texas, some of my employees in New York, some of my employees in Virginia. And we're a California-based company. And just because it's 5 o'clock here, you work for a California-based company, does that mean you can't be on the 4:30 conference call? I don't know. I'd say no. I think you need to be on it, but it's a tough call. Naveen, Fatin, I couldn't agree with you more. It's a crazy time.
Yeah, and Naveen has a nice comment in the chat about limiting the amount of people coming in and then kind of rotating those through. I think they both take but they're 10 at a time now. So that's been their limit. And I think to kind of drive back to the Prezzo Naveen, so it really fits his, because of these limitations and because of these challenges, the key here comes down to how is your communication technology rising to meet the limitation and the challenge. What's typical in most organizations and companies over time, you collect a significant amount of technology debt, and what you're going to have is various solutions to fit various pieces of the puzzle. And rather the puzzle coming out nice and clean with the picture that you're looking for, it's actually a mismatch. And you actually have pieces that don't fit very well together. And so it becomes very hard to manage. It becomes very hard to not just manage, but to secure, because each of these solutions will have their own security protocols. And if they're on old firmware or old versions, they're not going to have the latest that you need to be successful to keep everything going secure, let alone securing information coming out of these crazy Wi-Fi experiences at people's house that are completely unsecure. And how are you as an organization leader helping to kind of craft, again, back to your talent, make sure your talent is happy with their experience, and do you have the right transformational strategy to clean up this into something more like this?
Oh God, that was so clean. Look how clean. This is so nice. Was that done on purpose? This one's all confusing.
And that's where Pat Confusion to take you from the left side to the right side.
Like, let's be serious, guys. Tool fatigue is real. It's even hard having a single tool that we use Zoom for all this stuff that I still have to use everybody else's what platform they're on. And they're doing their meeting in Teams or GoToMeeting or WebEx or whatever, 8x8 or Ring Central Meeting, whatever it is. That's crazy enough as it is. Cleaning up what you're doing internally with all these different tools, that's where we come in. We'll do a full analysis of what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it, make some recommendations on cleaning up and consolidating tools. Zoom is one of the options that cleans up a lot of tools. One thing about this, one thing you'll never, I'm from California and we live in the Valley, and Slack is huge. You're generally not going to get rid of Slack in most people. They have a very nice ecosystem where they play nice with a lot of their tools. While they clean this up, where they're going to do tool fatigue into a single tool, a lot of my customers want to do best of breed. And they still have Slack, and they still have Zoom, they still have Teams, but they have all three working cohesively together. Zoom has a nice APIs, nice integrations. They don't shut anybody out. They're going to open up all the integrations and have this seamless integration so they all play nicely together. So this is what we do. We come in and do a full analysis for you guys, take you from the left to the right.
Yeah, I think that's a huge story is allowing Packet to come in and to really help you, again, prepare for the end of the tunnel. This is the time. to have the conversations on what this transformation is going to look like, so that you can have a very successful exit from the tunnel to a very successful future. Because I was talking to them before this whole thing started, the whole webinar started, is that organizations, what we're seeing, the organizations who do this today or in the immediate future, have these hard conversations and work on a transformational strategy, are those who are going to outbeat their competition extensively, because there's still people out there who really feel like, oh, it's just going to go back. Everything's going to go back eventually to the way it was. And that is the type backwards thinking that leads to loss of market share, that leads to the inability to attract new students if you're in education, attract more buyers if you're in the real estate game, because you're not understanding that things have changed. And you need to be able to change with it and stay ahead of it and have your technology drive success. And so if you're having these conversations now with Packet Fusion, you and your organization are going to be substantially ahead of the game, because you're going to be
Go
able
back
to
real quick, one slide, Derek.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting Slack there and not saying you're a competitor to Slack. You have your chat and it's nice and it's cool,
Sure.
but it's nothing what Slack can be. And you guys integrate very nicely in it with / commands to launch each other. So I'm big fans of what you guys are doing there. Next slide. Thank you.
Awesome. And I want to say thanks, Naveen, for your comments in the chat. I really appreciate that. I know the Packet Fusion team will excited to kind of talk to you about kind of what your Zoom ecosystem looks like today and the future. Because this is really what we need to do, be able to take you from the ability to take a Slack, let's just say, or a Zoom chat or a Teams com, whatever it is, whatever you're interacting internally with, escalate that to a phone call, and then take that phone call, you go, you know what, I really need to show you something. And now you're in video. You know what, I'm gonna walk from my cubicle environment over into the boardroom because I really want to sit down and show you something off my computer. And the entire time you stay connected to the individuals, you're not hanging up, and then inviting them with another link, more stuff they got to put in or anything else. It's a seamless experience going from one feature of a platform to the other. And that's really the Zoom story. If we look back on here, the Zoom story is it's all a single platform. All self-developed, no acquisitions. So we're not duct taping anything on the back end. It's truly a seamless experience as you move from the features through features through features. Naveen, you talked about, you've already adopted a bit of the Zoom ecosystem. Adding phone is as simple as people going to bed one night not having it. The next day they wake up, they have it. They don't have to download anything new. They don't have to re-provision anything. It's all done for them as a feature that's turned on the back of the system for them.
And jokingly, Naveen said he's going to go to Zoom Phone as soon as Zoom buys out his existing Mitel contract. Truth and jest. So literally, Zoom is very motivated to getting people to the cloud on their telephony platform. They're very open to buying out contracts. They're very open to services to augment existing costs. So giving free months, I'm not saying they do it all the time, but if the business case arises, I've seen them get very aggressive. So just because you're an existing contract for your telephony, don't let that say we can't go Zoom, because Zoom is very motivated to buy you out and do certain things. So contact us. We know how far to push them. We can get them there. And actually, before you go there, go back to the slide with all the phones on it. So this one's, listen, guys, we're getting less than half of people are responding. This one's very near and dear to me. I think it's more and more. Where are people buying? Are people buying soft phones? Are people still buying physical? I'll tell you what we do, but it's, we still have this premise-based world and this cloud world. All our cloud providers are amazed that we still sell so many handsets and hardware. They can't believe it. I'm curious, what we just did a 350 line install for a contact center and UCAS, and they bought 350 hard phones, poly hard phones. I was blown away. Couldn't believe that somebody's still buying 350 hard phones, but different business, and they had to have them. So, all right, guys, we're not even at half. I'd love to get some more people responding to this.
And as we're waiting, Nick, I see your question, and we're gonna address this immersive technologies piece here in a minute here. I know we're kind of getting up towards the end of our time together, but as that kind of is coming in, because it does speak to another item I want to get to is this really this slide. There's a lot on it, Nick, but I think it addresses what you're talking about, immersive. Because immersive workplaces has to do with where your employees are at. There's no longer can a business like Matt can't dictate how his office looks anymore, because his office doesn't look like the office building. It's people's homes. It's people's, in this case, you have someone sitting in their room with their toddler. We've all been. If we had time, I'd do a handful of who's been on a video call with someone who's had to take care of a child, a baby, an infant, a toddler, while trying to also participate on a call. We've all been there. We've all seen people do that. That's the reality of where we're at today. So from an immersive workplace experience, you got to think through from a technological, like a technology partner perspective, who are those vendors? And that's where Packet Fusion comes in. Who are those vendors to help you navigate this hybrid workspace? It's more than just home and office. They're the micro hybrids. It's what room in my house am I going to be in? Like myself, I don't have a home office, so I got to move. My office has got to move with me, depending on who's at home doing school from home. What are they doing? What are the technology they need access to? Because I need to get out of their way, and they need to get out of my way. Just as much as it is when we do return to work, how are you leveraging the micro spaces of the boardrooms and the huddle rooms with your open lobby spaces, with the cubicles, with the actual door offices, or with these spaces that are more of your hot desk type spaces? They're, more bullpen spaces. People can just sit in, plug in, and go. Like, how is the technology that you have allowing for that immersive communication to occur no matter where you are at, with the features that you need, the whiteboarding, the messaging, the making sure you have noise suppression, noise cancellation? Are you, from a Zoom perspective, we have about 8 months ago, we developed a whole new line of products just for home offices. And it went very quick because we knew that's the reality of where people were at. So now you've got the ability to have integrated screens that you can hang on your wall that you can watch TV on, or they're integrated with cameras and microphone arrays. Because if you're sitting there and you're also going to be doing business during the day, that then later on that turns into a Xbox screen. You got to be able to do that, right? You got to be able to have the access to these tools. If you're in schools, it has to be interactive. They have to be touchscreen. They have to have all these things to bring in all of the students that are working remote. And there's so many more challenges. So the big key for each of you out there is when you're working with Packet Fusion is really think through, what is this immersive going to look like for you, Nick? In your organization.
I know, I love all this stuff.
We need all these pieces together.
One of my favorite that I didn't think was going to be as cool as it is the top right, digital signage. So we have a simple 40-inch TV in each of our offices, and our HR person can go click, and that quickly through Zoom create this immersive experience of updating people and excitement and birthdays and all this stuff. And what we used to have to do with these Raspberries and these PCs and these monitors, it was just like, oh my God, you guys just take that, just little things like that. It's pretty cool. I love that feature. Thank you.
No, and to that point, I mean, you need to be able to, and Werner, I like your comment in there because you're from the law firm, from the attorney side, making sure that, how is our technology allowing for you to bill? And because that's the biggest thing. How are you tracking it? How are you able to bill it? We have law firms right now that are billing it, based off of our platform and everything else, allowing the attorneys, again, to bill based on their cell phone, working from home, working from the car, working from the train, working from, the office. But to your point, Matt, Zoom's to the point where if you're in a purpose-built video system, you can make a 911 call on that. Even though it's built for video, you can attach it to the telephony. It can make a 911 call. And because it's on the Zoom platform, it'll notify the local safety team of that office building. And that safety team can get on with the 911 dispatcher. Because let's face it, when we do go back, I think it was Naveen's comment on 10 people back in the office, there's a good chance that you're the one dialed 911 and you can't talk. Because no one around you, because you're in an isolated area of the office building. So now your safety team is talking with 911, not yourself. They're getting you to the building, but your digital signage has been lit up so that they can route the first responders to where you are at in that building to make sure they can get to you.
Yeah, you guys are doing.
We're just not going to have tons of people around us. for a bit.
You guys are really far advanced in your 911 capabilities. It's really cool doing stuff down to the, access point triangulation for soft phones on the Wi-Fi network, giving location codes on that. It's really cool. So I love that you guys are taking advantage of that and being a thought leader on that. Thank you. Endpoints, not surprising. Soft phone and smartphone app and mobile are kind of leading the charge. There's still people buying hard phones, which is crazy. I still get them. I still sell them. I let go of mine. I used to say it was an age thing. If you're over 40, I'm 50 now, so maybe it's over 50 now. You still wanted your hard phone, which I wanted. I haven't touched my hard phone in years. I don't want it anymore. I'm a soft phone only. And I think that's kind of where the world's going.
Yeah. And we're just seeing from an immersive standpoint, that's what we're seeing a lot of. So thanks, Werner, for your thoughts. Neva, any questions here that we can answer for you guys here at the back end? We got another great poll as well while you guys are thinking through. This is a roundtable. I know it's been a lot of, Matt and I talking back and forth. Matt giving some incredible real life examples. Myself giving more of your standard kind of prezzo, but I love this last question, Matt. So why don't you introduce it while people are thinking?
Does your current collaboration and UC system effectively allow for remote working? Right? Do your systems? I mean, I a year ago, the people that had the systems that we were providing, it did for a portion of them, but it wasn't the entire workforce working at home. I had Yelp. They had 4,000 people that immediately had to go home, and it was like, oh my God, what do we do? It was all hands on deck. We got them to where they needed to be. But the system that was provided for them was an on-premise phone system with people coming to the office, not all of a sudden 4,000 people working from home. So it was a difficult proposition. We got them through it, and they're in a good place now. But that was the reality of it, and it really exposed the new normal and the weaknesses of their existing infrastructure and what we had to do to get them to the next level stuff. So. Does your current collaboration and UC system effectively allow for remote performance? So 84% said yes, and 16% said no. Okay, well, that's good. So I'm going to end that poll, and I'm going to do my last poll where I have one more. But so this is I would love for everybody, all of you guys, to answer this one. Are you planning on investigating new collaboration UCaaS in the next 12 months? So that would be awesome. I'd love to hear that, because that just validates what we do for a living and what Zoom's doing for a living, and quite frankly, what Derek does as an overlay on the phone side of the house for Zoom. Zoom was the collaboration, ubiquitous choice, and now they have the phone, and they're making, tremendous strides in that, but there's a long way for them to go, and so we're just kind of validating the market. So it looks like 68% are saying yes, and 35% or 65 say yes, and 35 say no. So less than half you responded. I would love to get the other half of you guys to respond. This is why we're doing this, is this exact right here. So Derek, I'll turn it back to you.
No problem at all. And I really appreciate all the feedback. But one of the things I really wanted to leave you guys with is the idea of, yes, from a transformational perspective, you need to be having these conversations with Packet Fusion. There's no doubt about it. For at least for 65% of you, that means that you really haven't put together a UCaaS strategy or implemented one yet, and the other ones probably have. That has been decently successful during this time period. But for those of you that haven't, that are really looking at it, now's the time to begin to investigate. There's a lot of great solutions out there. There really are. And that's where, again, I go back to that image of the person's foot and all those arrows. That's where Packet Fusion's value comes in. They know all those paths. They know.
And thank you, Derek. I love it.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. This is what we do for a living, guys. I mean, this is how we earn our bread and butter, is taking our existing knowledge that we've gathered for the last 25 years in this industry and bringing it forward to you guys, and be an extension of your team to help you find and document your processes, understand the landscape, and get you to the right tools and make sure it's implemented successful and it's supported for the ongoing. So, Zoom is one of the many partners that we have. We love them. We love everything they're doing. We do have others. I won't name them here, but we have pretty much anybody out there we're partners with. But we love what Zoom's doing. I've got a 20,000 endpoint Zoom phone implementation and meetings implementation. We've got a 5,000 Zoom endpoint. I've got a 6,000 Zoom endpoint. So we've got these really, really large customers that it would have been hard for me to do with any other product. especially a premise-based product, but Zoom's allowed us to move up market into the enterprise. But make no mistake, I've got plenty of 50 and 100 and 200 and 500, employee customers on Zoom, and that's our bread and butter.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I can say about Zoom and where Zoom can really help you guys out is, especially if you've already, implemented Zoom, and maybe that was a poll question we should have had, how many you've already implemented Zoom for a little bit of your organization. Transformation is available, and obviously, being able to design that strategy. The one thing you don't want it to be is disruptive. And that's where Zoom really shines. Is again, if you've already deployed the Zoom platform for the meetings perspective, or for Zoom webinar, anything else, adding Zoom phone is truly a back end thing that we do. And we just turn that option on the platform. So when it comes to being, to lowering that risk of disruption for your business, Zoom is gonna be a very attractive conversation for you to have, and a very attractive option for you, because it's simply turning it on the back end. We're available in over 46 countries. We have carrier peering and premise peering. Thank you, Matt. Like that,
on the fly.
On demand.
On the fly.
But we've got the solutions for you for countries that we're not in. If you want to be able to have all of your employees leverage Zoom at the single point in time, leveraging those premise and carrier relationships. We've done this at higher education schools like USC down there in Southern California and other places. You had mentioned large organizations. 4 of the Fortune 50 companies currently have Zoom phone, and most of them are running 20, 30,000 people through this kind of carrier relationship and peering relationship solution that we have. So just make sure every employee is on the same application at the same time, being able to be centrally managed. So there's a lot of things we can do for you in such a way that is not going to disrupt your business and your workflow. That's going to give you this immersive experience like Nick was talking about, that immersive communication experience across all of these micro hybrid work environments that all of us are in. We've all done meetings, again, from the kitchen table, from our bedroom, from our office, from the boardroom, all that type of stuff. So we can provide this all for you, all within a central ecosystem of everything working together, because it's all the same platform. And I think for us, and for our partnership with Packet Fusion, it's been really good because they love sticking with innovative technologies, and we love being that innovation technology company.
I'll
kind of let you finish up here.
We like you, and you like us. We like what's
Fantastic.
going on. So I think we'll end it with that, guys. We'd love to help in any way, shape, or form. Contact us. Half you guys on this are already my existing customers, so thank you for joining this. If you need any of our help, you know how to get a hold of us. Thank you very much. Derek, do you want to end it at anything? I think you're good.
Not at all. Just want to say thank you, everyone, for your time. I know it's valuable. Webinars it's a competitive business out there with webinars. So we appreciate you giving us your time. And hopefully you walked away learning something, and definitely follow up with the Packet team to learn more about Zoom.
Thanks, guys.